The day before my wedding, I was folding napkins into little swans, because apparently, that's the kind of detail that determines if your marriage will last, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my fiancé, Liam. "Hey. My mom wants you to come to dinner tonight. Just us. She says she has a surprise." I stared at that message for a full minute. A surprise. The day before the wedding. If you had told me back then that I was walking into a trap so cruel it would make me question every smile, every hug, and every welcome to the family I'd ever received, I would have laughed. But I'm not laughing now. Because what happened at that dinner didn't just break my heart. It burned my life to the ground. And then, it gave me the chance to build a new one from the ashes. Let me rewind a little. My name is Elena. I'm a graphic designer, and up until that week, I thought I was living in a fairy tale. Liam was the golden boy. Handsome, charming, a successful architect. We met at a coffee shop when he spilled an Americano all over my sketchbook. Instead of being mortified, he looked at the ruined ink bled across the paper and said, "That actually looks better than the building you were drawing." I fell for him. Hard. But here's the thing about marrying a golden boy. You don't just marry him. You marry his family. And his family was a dynasty. Liam's mother, Diana, came from old money. The kind of old money where they don't talk about it, they just look at your shoes and you know you've failed. She lived in a glass-walled mansion overlooking the lake. Everything about her was curated, from her gardenias to her passive aggression. From day one, I knew she didn't approve of me. I wasn't one of them. I was a girl from a modest suburb who paid for her own art school. I didn't have a trust fund, I had student loans. But Liam loved me. And for 3 years, I dealt with her microaggressions. The comments about my quaint family. The way she'd say, "Oh, you're wearing that," with a smile so sweet it gave me a toothache. I thought the wedding was my victory lap. The moment she'd finally have to accept me. I was wrong. She was just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I showed up to the mansion that night with a bottle of wine and a knot in my stomach. Liam met me at the door, but he looked off. He kissed my cheek, but it felt cold. He kept glancing over his shoulder toward the dining room. "What's the surprise?" I asked. He just shook his head. "Let's just get through dinner. Let's just get through dinner." That was the phrase he used when he knew his mother was about to do something unpleasant. I walked into the dining room, and the atmosphere hit me like a wall. The table was set immaculately, crystal, silver, the good china. Diana sat at the head of the table, looking like a queen about to pass judgment. But she wasn't alone. Sitting to her right was a woman I'd never seen before. She was impeccably dressed, maybe a few years older than me, with an air of confidence that seemed rehearsed. And next to her was a little girl. About 4 years old. With curly brown hair and eyes that looked exactly like Liam's. My heart stopped. Diana looked up at me, gestured to the empty chair at the far end of the table, the opposite end from Liam, and said, "Elena, I'm so glad you came. I thought it was only fair that you meet the family before you officially join it." I didn't sit down. I looked at Liam. He looked like he wanted to sink into the marble floor. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The woman stood up. She extended a hand. "I'm Sophia. I'm Liam's, well, I'm the mother of his daughter." The world tilted. I looked at Liam. He opened his mouth, but nothing came. Diana jumped in, her voice dripping with theatrical sympathy. "Liam didn't tell you? I assumed you knew. He was young, it was a brief relationship years ago. But family is family, Elena. Sophia and little Ava have been part of our lives for a while now. We just didn't want to burden you before the wedding." Did you catch that? Burden me. She framed lying to me for 3 years as a favor. I turned to Liam. You have a daughter? Finally, he spoke. Elena, it was before us. I didn't know how to tell you. It got complicated. Mom and Sophia, they handle the arrangements, You just what? I snapped. You let me plan a wedding with your mother while she was secretly having dinners with your other baby mama, getting ready to spring her on me the night before the ceremony? Sophia, to her credit, looked uncomfortable. But Diana? Diana was glowing. She poured herself a glass of wine and leaned back. Elena, sit down. Let's be adults about this. These things happen in families like ours. We wanted to make sure you knew what you were signing up for. There's no shame in walking away if this is too much for you. And there it was. The trap. This wasn't about honesty. This was about humiliation. Diana knew if she told me this a month ago, I might have processed it. Liam and I could have fought, cried, gone to therapy. We might have worked it out. But she waited until the night before the wedding because she wanted to destroy me in public. She wanted me to either A. Walk away, humiliated, proving I was too weak for their family, giving her the victory she'd wanted for 3 years. Or B. Stay, accept the lie, and spend the rest of my life as a doormat, forever indebted to her mercy. I looked at Liam. I searched his face for the man I loved. But all I saw was a coward dressed in a tailored suit. You let her do this, I said to him. You knew she was going to ambush me tonight, and you let her. He didn't deny it. He just whispered, she said it was the only way. I picked up the wine bottle I had brought. For a second, I think everyone thought I was going to throw it. But I didn't. I just looked at Diana. You think you won, I said. She smiled that porcelain smile. There's no winning, darling. Only compatibility. I set the bottle down on the table. Then I walked out. I drove home in a blur. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I sat in my car in the driveway for 2 hours, staring at the boxes of wedding favors in my back seat. Little potted succulents with our initials on them. ENL. I called my best friend, Maya. She was my maid of honor. When I told her what happened, she was silent for a long time. Then she said, Okay. We have 12 hours. Do you want to cancel, or do you want to fight? I told her I didn't know. See, the thing about Diana's plan was, it was brilliant in its cruelty. She knew that even if I forgave Liam, the damage was done. The trust was shattered. The wedding was tainted. I spent the night tossing and turning. Around 3 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. It was Sophia. I'm sorry about tonight. Diana told me you knew. She said you were fine with the arrangement. I wouldn't have come if I'd known. For what it's worth, Liam loves you. But his mother controls his life. Run. That text was the lightbulb moment. I didn't just hate Diana for what she did. I saw her for what she was, a control freak who had spent 3 years trying to break me because she knew I was the one person who could actually pull Liam away from her. But here's the thing about people like Diana. They're so obsessed with their grand plans, they forget that other people have plans too. I didn't sleep. Instead, I made phone calls. At 6 a.m., Maya showed up at my apartment with a car full of supplies. She didn't bring a wedding dress. She brought a laptop, a change of clothes, and a look in her eye that I can only describe as murderous determination. What's the play? She asked. I told her. You see, over the last 3 years, I hadn't just been planning a wedding. I'd been building relationships. The venue coordinator, the caterer, the photographer, they weren't just vendors. They were people who had watched me pour my heart into this event. And more importantly, I had signed the contracts. Diana thought she was the queen of the castle because she was footing the bill for the reception. But the venue? I booked it. The contracts were in my name. The deposits? Paid from my savings, because Diana had been too busy to handle it, and I was too eager to please to say no. At 7 a.m., I called the venue. I told the coordinator, a wonderful woman named Patricia, that the groom's mother might try to make changes. Patricia laughed. Honey, the only person who can change anything today is you. You're the client. I hung up the phone, and for the first time in 12 hours, I smiled. Then I called Liam. He answered on the first ring, his voice groggy and full of guilt. Elena, I'm so sorry. I'll make it right. I'll tell my mom she has to stay home today. We'll get married without her. I took a deep breath. No, Liam. We're not getting married today. He panicked. Wait, what? Elena, no, I'll fix it. I'll do anything. You will, I said. You'll show up to the venue at 4 p.m. You'll wear your suit. You'll smile for the cameras. But you will not speak to me, touch me, or come near me. If you do anything other than stand at the altar and look pretty, I will call the photographer, the caterer, and the band, and tell them all to go home. And you can explain to your 200 guests why there's no food, no music, and no bride. What are you talking about? He asked, confused. I hung up. The venue was a gorgeous botanical garden. By 3 p.m., guests were arriving. The string quartet was playing. Champagne was flowing. Diana arrived looking like a victor returning from war, wearing a silver gown that was frankly too much for a mother of the groom. She was glowing. She thought she'd won. She thought I had slunk away with my tail between my legs. She went up to the wedding coordinator, Patricia, with a smug look. I need to make an announcement to the guests. A change of plans. Patricia smiled. I'm sorry, Mrs. Ashworth. The only person authorized to make announcements today is the bride. Diana blinked. Excuse me? The bride, Patricia repeated. Miss Elena Martinez. She is the client of record. Unless she tells me otherwise, we proceed with her schedule. At 3:55 p.m., the music changed. Instead of Pachelbel's canon, the speakers started playing a powerful, upbeat song, Fighter by Christina Aguilera. The guests turned, expecting to see a bride in white. The doors opened. But I wasn't wearing a wedding dress. I was wearing a sleek, red power suit. Hair pulled back. No veil. No bouquet. I walked down the aisle alone, with the confidence of a woman who had absolutely nothing left to lose. Diana's face went white. Then red. She stood up from her front row seat. What is the meaning of this? She hissed. I walked past her without looking. I stepped onto the altar, took the microphone from the officiant, and turned to the 200 guests. Liam stood there, looking like a ghost. I took a deep breath, and I said, Good evening, everyone. I know you all came here to see a wedding. But last night, I found out that the family I was marrying into has been keeping secrets. Specifically, that my fiancé has a 4-year-old daughter he never told me about, and his mother decided the best time to introduce us was last night, at a private dinner meant to humiliate me into calling off the wedding. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. I continued. She wanted me to walk away. She wanted to prove I wasn't good enough. But I realized something this morning. I don't need to walk away. I just need to tell the truth. I turned to Diana. Her hands were shaking. You spent 3 years treating me like an outsider. You lied, you manipulated, and you tried to break me. But you forgot one thing. I'm the one who planned this entire event. The venue, the food, the flowers, every single vendor is contracted to me. So here's what's going to happen. I looked at Liam. I felt a pang of sadness, but no regret. Liam and I are not getting married. The wedding is cancelled. However, the party is not. I gestured to the tables, the food, the open bar. I've paid for this. The food is here. The band is here. The champagne is already open. So I'm going to have a party. A celebration of me finally realizing my worth. Anyone who wants to stay and celebrate a woman who didn't let a toxic family destroy her, you are welcome. Anyone who wants to leave with the Ashworths, the exit is that way. I handed the mic to Maya, who was standing in the front row, clapping. Liam tried to step toward me. Elena, please. We can fix this. I finally looked him in the eyes. You don't get to fix this. You had 3 years to be honest. You had 12 hours to stand up to your mother. You did neither. You don't deserve a wife. You deserve the life your mother builds for you. Enjoy it. I walked off the altar, past a speechless Diana, past a crying Sophia, who actually looked relieved, and straight to the open bar. So, what happened after? Well, the guests stayed. About 80% of them. Because, let's be honest, who turns down an open bar and a 5-star meal? Diana tried to cause a scene, but security, hired by me, of course, escorted her and Liam out. I heard later that she was so furious she tried to sue me for the cost of the wedding. But since I had all the receipts and she had no legal standing, her lawyer laughed her out of his office. Liam called me for weeks. Apologizing, begging. I never answered. I heard through the grapevine that he finally moved out of his mother's shadow and tried to co-parent Ava properly. I hope he did. For Ava's sake. As for me? I used the footage from the photographer who, by the way, captured every second of Diana's meltdown and built a website. I called it the Red Suit Project. It's a platform for women who have been humiliated by toxic in-laws or partners to share their stories and reclaim their power. That video of me walking down the aisle in the red suit went viral. I've been featured in magazines. I started my own branding agency, specializing in helping women rebuild their identities after betrayal. And 2 years later, I met a man at a coffee shop, yes, another coffee shop. He was a sculptor. He had clay under his nails and didn't own a suit. His mother was a retired librarian who knitted me a scarf the first time we met. We got married last spring. Small ceremony. In a garden. No secrets. No ambushes. And you know what his mother said to me the night before that wedding? Elena, I made you a lasagna. It's in the freezer. Don't stress about tomorrow, just eat. That was the surprise. Sometimes the family you choose is the one that was waiting for you all along. And sometimes, the greatest power move you can make isn't revenge. It's walking away from a table where you're not respected, taking the whole party with you, and realizing you were the main course all along. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, it tells the algorithm that stories like this matter. And subscribe if you want to hear more about how I turned the worst night of my life into the best thing that ever happened to me. Thanks for listening.